Are you ready to breathe new life into your forgotten stamps and dies? We're going to use those supplies to recreate these floral cards and create some modern designs using your older supplies. And if you're going for that modern look, a great place to start is to update your colour palette. Incorporate fresh modern colours. Today I'm going to be using a teal and coral combination. You can create these colours with cardstock, with inks. You can even use some design paper if you prefer. Now I'm basically going to repeat the two designs that I had on my first card, but what I've done is I've grabbed out older stamps and dies from my stash. Starting with this really pretty branch. Now, if you don't have a stamp for a branch, you can easily draw one. If you don't feel confident to do that, then why not die cut a branch? Or you can stamp a variety of leaves to create your scene instead, because most of this is going to be covered up with the flowers anyway. And this is a huge stamp, so I did use the stamp wheel to get the impression, and I wanted to stamp it twice, so I literally just moved the card panel across to the other corner and flipped the wheel around. It makes it very easy to do. So did you know that the global arts and craft market is projected to grow from 45 billion in 2024 to 74 billion US dollars by 2033? Yet many of us have drawers full of unused supplies. So I'm kind of hoping that today's video is going to help you look at what you have in your stash and maybe combine it with some of the newer stuff and still get that modern, polished, finished design that you're looking for. So I have the coordinating stencils for this set. It's a Builder Garden set, so it does come with them. But if you have an image that doesn't have the stencils, because they do make it very quick and easy to color with, then you could simply use whatever medium you have in your stash, whether it be markers or pencils, even watercolors. I did take this a step further and added some really light ink blending around the edge of the card. I used the teal colors for this design and didn't bother about masking anything because it is a really light coating of ink that I've done and you're really not going to notice it. So then it was time to choose some floral images, and I thought some layering die cut flowers would be beautiful here. Now these are some of the older layering flowers from Altenew, and I don't think they date. I think that these can have a very modern look when you use them in the right colors. They don't have to look old-fashioned. These are timeless. Like many of the designs that you can get nowadays, I actually don't think flowers date on greeting cards. They're one of my favorite things to use. And I think if you're careful choosing the color palette that you're going to work with and the design that you use, you can still get a very up-to-date design. I decided not to do any ink blending, and you might notice on the previous cards that the focus was actually all about ink blending, and I will link the post in the description down below if you want to see more about those particular cards. But I thought that just having the die cut layered colors of cardstock was enough to give it the look that I was going for here. But if you do want to take it that step further, you could always add a little bit of ink blending or even use some design paper on some of these layers. That would really change up the finished look. One thing I did go for here though was some glittery gold cardstock. I thought this was going to be a really pretty addition to these designs and really step it up and modernize that look, give it something a bit special. If you don't have gold cardstock, you could add some stickles or some glitter glue, or even just add a plain bold color. That would look fantastic as well. I do typically like to keep my card designs fairly clean and simple when it comes to trying to get that modern look. This particular card is probably a little bit more busy than I'd normally do, but I added a really bold die cut sentiment. You can use whatever sentiment you have. This is an old one from my stash. I've heat embossed it with some white powder onto some black cardstock and just die cut it in a circle. I like to double up the circles, or I like to double up a lot of my die cutting if I'm going to be adding dimension, which I often do. I just love dimension. If you don't want to add dimension, this card would look great, even if you adhered all these bits and pieces directly to the card base. In fact, I doubled up the foam tape here. I can't help myself. I love the look of dimension on a card, but that's purely personal choice. You might also notice that the branches that I did on this card, there's not a lot of activity happening down in that bottom left-hand corner, which I don't mind. It does look a little bit off balance to my eye, and I came in and added a couple of gem sparkles there, just some gold. You could do sequins. You could even do some black splattering on this card design. And the second design that we're going to be making today is more clean and simple, which I really like in a modern style of card. I am creating it's a layered stamped vase. It's an older set. It's also from Old and New. A lot of my stamps are from Old and New because I've been on the design team for so many years now. A lot of my older stamps are from them as well. But if you don't have a vase stamp, there's a lot of things that can be used instead. Even just a circle die will work, or a circle stamp will work to create a vase, and you just cut the top off. I had the coordinating dies, so I did cut that out, layer it up, because I know I'm going to be popping it up. And another tip here is you don't have to use the same leaves and flowers from the same sets. These leaves are from the poppy set, which is the flowers that I used on the first card. So I'm using them on the second card design with the fantasy floral die cut. So if you have a leaf shape that you want to use, it doesn't matter if it does or doesn't come with the specific set. You don't have to use layering dies to get the similar look. You could actually layer stamp a flower, or even stamp and color a flower and the leaves, and create these same designs. Just have a look at your stash and see what you've got. Now, one other thing I do suggest is when you're doing some stamping or stenciling, like I did in the first card design in the background, work out what your basic layout of your design is going to be. And then I'm going to be stamping some filler flowers behind the image here. And if I've got the actual design held together, then I know what is going to look good behind it just by holding the images over top. Now, initially I was thinking about going for these little tiny filler flowers and coloring them in. But then I saw this, it's a frosted foliage, I think it's called, set, and I just kept going back and forth and I couldn't decide. I just wanted to use this more solid design, and I knew it wasn't something that I'd normally use here. I thought, well, you know what? It's a piece of paper. I'm going to stamp it. If I don't like it, I can always start again. So by holding my image in place in the MISTI, I could come in, work out exactly where I needed the stamps to be before I stamped them, because I have found in the past, if I just kind of guess it, it's always a little bit off. It's just safer for me to line them up before I do the stamping, and that way I know they're going to be roughly where they need to, because I can always move my flowers around a bit. But if they're too hidden and you just see the tiny edge of it, it looks kind of weird. You need to be able to see enough to know that there are flowers behind it. Again, with the dimension, I apologize in advance. You do not have to add the dimension, but I can't help myself. And I really like the way that the black flowers look in the background. It's not something I'd normally do, but I think it just adds that modern feel to this design. And from memory, I think this particular layering flower might be the very first one that Alton You made. I don't know. I'll have to have a look and see. On the previous card, I added a sentiment on a stick. This time I found an envelope in one of the older penny black sets that I've got. So I decided to add that instead. And I think that's a really cute way of looking like it's a floral bouquet that's been bought for somebody. It's been so much fun grabbing out some of my older supplies, ones that I couldn't let go of because I knew they were timeless, and to get them out and breathe some fresh life into them by recreating 2 cards that I've made recently with the same basic designs, modernizing them by using colors, by using textures with the glittered cardstock, and clean and simple designs, and just having a lot of fun with the good stuff, the old stuff. I do hope that this inspires you to look at your stash and create a card in a more modern style using some older supplies. Don't forget to tag me if you do. I'd love to see what you make. I've got 2 more videos here for you to enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you there. And if you liked today's video, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? It's totally free. I look forward to seeing you back here real soon. Till then, happy paper crafting. Bye.